A leader means you can inspire your people to work for you. You inspire people to follow you, to believe in what you believe.
At Sand Merit, we believe that together we create better performance culture.
Hello. Good evening, John. Hey, John, your mic is mute, I think.
How are you? How's everything, and how's the team at Sand Merit?
Yeah, how good? It's very good, very good. Now everything get to normal. You know, these few days the cases have been up again. Hopefully, still can under control lah.
Yeah, we are hoping that it stays this way lah. I think another MCO will be quite detrimental to our economy lah, especially to all the SMEs lah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so to everybody, when you're watching this online, thank you so much for following us. John is the director of Malaysia Board of Records. He is very passionate about leadership skill development and people management. During the initial stage of this MCO, he even joined force with me to motivate our clients and employees. So we host the town hall meeting for all the employees of our clients. So this is to ensure that their employees are still motivated and work harder, you know, with their employers to get through this tough time. John also helped me to host a physical meeting to share with our clients on how to manage their employees effectively. I'm very appreciative to John. He has been very supportive to what I'm doing. Most importantly, we both have the same belief. We believe that employees are not just motivated by money. Okay, there are many factors that you can motivate employees. So that's why tonight you can learn, you know, how to motivate your employees. So now a lot of bosses, they complain about their employees, especially during this pandemic. They say they are very difficult to manage. And but John, you have proven this perception wrong. It is about leadership. So you can manage to get your millennials employees previously to work more than 50 hours a week, and now they're still with you previously in your previous job. Okay. And they have been working with you for more than 3 years, and some even more than 5 years. You have proven this perception wrong, that millennials is not willing to work long hours. And this is very, very impressive. Okay. So now I have a first question to you. Okay. So this employee highly paid, and they all are motivated by money?
No, I won't say they were highly paid, but they also weren't lowly paid. We pay, I believe in paying employees fair market value. So of course they were paid very fairly and according to the market rates. But I think what we discovered worked for us at that time was that other things played a greater motivator to our employees. That included a lot of employee welfare, a lot of more fun working environment, better culture, more empowerment. Things like this played a bigger motivator rather than money in terms of when it was during those days. So yeah, I believe they were paid fairly. We don't underpay our employees. I think everyone should be paid fair market value.
But I think, do you think employee is always looking at money only?
I think it really depends. Depends on the type of employees you're talking about. Also, their situation that they're in. I would say that it is fair to, of course, if you're talking about blue collar line production factory, maybe foreigners, the low income B40 range, then of course they will be motivated by money because they are in a survival mode. Money is already scarce. So of course, then any more money that you can give them, of course, will serve as a big incentive. But my experience based on urban Gen Y millennials, in terms of where we were, of course, slightly towards the slightly better income or more affluent neighborhoods, right, where they're from, that money isn't the main motivator. I think as previously as an entrepreneur and then now as an employee, I think I can speak from both sides of the table. And I can say that now that I'm a corporate employee, right, I think we feel that we need money as a motivator. We feel and we think that we need money as a motivator, but actually we are more motivated by other things, play a bigger role in terms of motivators, even whether the people we work with, whether it's the environment we're in, or the type of work that we're doing. I think those things play a much bigger motivator instead of money. So
actually,
it really depends.
I agree with you. Based on a Maslow hierarchy diagram, there is a basic needs. So we need to pay our car loan, we need to pay our house loan, the basic food, the basic needs. So once the employee fulfill the basic needs, able to pay your bill every month, then they will be looking into other areas, looking into the relationship with colleagues, the love, the satisfaction. Even a higher level is self-esteem, the fulfillment.
Correct. I think Harvard Business School and the Harvard Business Review, I think they did a research not too long ago, and they found that is very, very true. That once their basic needs, like you mentioned, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when their basic needs are met, maybe even a little bit of a buffer towards their lifestyle needs being met to a certain extent, other things play a greater motivator instead of money, really. That's true.
In fact, I just also want to share. I want to take this opportunity to share with the audience here. I have a customer. I talked to her. She's not a boss. She's the employee. And they asked her, previously you worked in a 5-star hotel, and now you're working in 3-star hotel. I believe that your pay should be much different, right? She said, yeah. Previously I was paid almost double of what I'm getting now. The benefits, the salary. So then I asked her, why you left your previous job? Were you not happy? She said, actually, I wasn't not happy, but it's just that when she worked in a 5-star hotel, she didn't feel fulfilled. When she, after her work, right, she went home, she felt very empty. She didn't feel the sense of direction. She just like working for money. And then after that, she decided, to resign and went back to her hometown. And then she joined the 3-star hotel, and now she feel much happier. Why? The reason is because she being appreciated by her bosses, and she have a lot of good working relationship with her colleagues, and she contributing to help the hotel, to build a better hotel. So she feel very happy now, and she have been working with the hotel for many years. Even though she's not looking into pay, she said money is not everything, So what motivates me is the people around me. People appreciate, people learning from me. They will remember me. So I'm helping my employees. I'm helping my bosses. It's the people around me. It's a friendship. It's love, right? So this is what I got from her.
I think that's very true, because one of my mentors and one of my coaches, right, is Joasia. I learned this from him. He told me that I think it's someone else who quoted this, and he said that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So you see a lot of successful people. For example, recently, not too long ago, one of our most successful comedians and actors, Robin Williams. Robin Williams, right? And he was one of the. He was very happy, and he was entertaining a lot of people. He had all the money in the world. He was very successful, but yet he committed suicide, right? And so, because I think in life, a lot of people feel that money brings a lot of joy and fulfillment. But if you look at a lot of successful people, right, a lot of them who have taken their lives or are in depression or have faced some sort of difficulty, right, actually they looked like they were very successful and happy on the outside, but they were not fulfilled with their lives, right? They couldn't find that fulfillment. So I think one of your clients is walking down the right path, I think. I guess she made a higher plane of discovery by discovering that the joy and fulfillment rather than just financial returns.
True. Yeah. John, just want to ask the people around you, right? You also have a lot of people in business, friends in business. What is their feeling now? About the economy, the current situation.
I think everyone's trying to stay positive, So I think a lot of circles if you ask them how is it, they will try and project a more positive outlook, So I think a lot of them are keeping the conversation very positive. I think some industries are still doing relatively okay. Those around me, a lot of them have transformed a little bit. They've pivoted their businesses a bit. I think generally their sentiments are not so confident in terms of the situation. But everybody is doing what they can to try and make it through these challenging times together. But the great thing is, I think I noticed that amongst entrepreneurs especially, a lot of people have come together. I think this pandemic, if it's anything that's come out of it, right, is the humanity level of it. It has brought a lot of businesses, competitors, come together. Even different industries are coming to form alliances and try and do things together. So I think that's the beauty of that. What has come out of this whole pandemic.
Okay. So during this period, in fact, I heard a lot of bosses complaining that their employee, not willing to work harder for them. Some even worse. Previously, they have a sales commission. They're being paid good commission, and during this MCO, they couldn't get sales. So then they're free. Then the bosses they ask them to do other things, other tasks. They're not willing. They say, what do I get? How much incentive I got? So they're stuck, right? So of course, I believe that those bosses, they already created the wrong culture. No money, no talk culture, right? It's just use money to drive people. And let's put that aside. In general, how do we motivate the employees to work harder during these difficult times, So people are worried about the future, not sure about what is going to happen next. You see, so what is your view? There's no right or wrong. What is your view from your past experience?
I think there are a few things that we are currently doing also, which to in terms of our employees, in terms of motivating them. I think everybody is very worried and very concerned about their jobs. They're also very concerned about the future of the organization. So even though we are part of a slightly larger group, we do have to take steps to ensure that our employees are motivated, because there are budget cuts, there are expense cuts, there are also salary deferments, whatever other people are doing. There's also headcount reductions. Whatever other organizations are doing, we are also doing. So to keep the remaining people motivated, of course, there are a few things that we've been doing. One is that we've been a bit more transparent with the situation. I think my COO and myself, we've had more open and more candor, more open and candid conversations with the employees to ensure that they are aware of the financial situation of the company, that they are also aware of in terms of what are the steps that we are taking and the strategies we are employing. I think this is important to let them know, because I think a lot of organizations during the good times, right, everyone is just focused on their specific roles and responsibilities that the management doesn't really have to share with much information with you because everything's going well, ma. So during these bad times, I think transparency is key. So we shared that a lot with them. I've also noticed that during these challenging times, right, the frequency of conversations with our employees has increased. So we spend more time having meetings with them, having more sit-down discussions, more open discussions to try and find out what we can do, what the situation is like. Keeping them more engaged with management. I think that's very important to let people know what's happening in the organization. Some of the other things we did also, because it's now challenging times, so we've shifted more from being very brand marketing focused to more revenue driven, more revenue focused. So we had to reposition some people. Some of the strategies we employed, we repositioned one of our managers who previously was not in charge of sales, but given that he's a very driven person and he's very number focused, he's also a little bit more firm and more authoritative in terms of running an organization, running the team, right? We've repositioned him to become the head of our current sort of sales department. So just to drive numbers, because our current KPI for this particular short period of time, right, is to drive revenue and maximum revenue in terms of whether it's alternative revenue or even to drive current revenues up. So that's our current KPI. So we repositioned one of our managers to spearhead that. I think one of the other things we did was, let me see, I think I wrote it down just now, right? I launched one, I think, to keep them motivated, because we were previously not incentive driven. So in terms of trying to, as our goals are to raise revenue, we actually launched a COVID combat plan, which is the short-term incentive program aimed at raising revenue targets. So we reward based on the revenues that we can achieve within this short period of time. Because this is to replace whatever we take away. I mean, we take something off. My boss said that once you give something to someone, it's very hard to take it back from them. So a lot of expenses, allowances, all these things were removed, have been cut from our current expense. So when we remove these from employees, right, we have to give them back something to keep them motivated. So we shifted it from being, expenses and allowances, etc., to incentive based on revenue collection. So currently it's at the moment it looks like it's doing its part, it's working, and we are actually meeting our revenue targets, which is good. I think that's what we are currently doing.
Okay, so I have a question from John here. I'm not sure you can see it on the screen. For businesses that had cut pay, how do we measure that employees don't also prorate
their work less as a result of lower salary? This is challenging. I wouldn't like to have employees think that because their pay is cut, they should work less. I would like
for you.
tough question. I hope I don't have such employees. I would like to think that everybody during these challenging times would understand the situation. Maybe the businesses who had to cut pay, how do we ensure that employees don't prorate their work? I think if you had the right type of conversation with your employees, then you shouldn't be faced with this problem. But it's also a good filtering system for me, I believe, if you have to defer pay or cut pay. I mean, we are also suffering a pay deferment in the organization, up to 25% across. So if we do such things, right, and we have the right conversations with our employees, number one, I think they shouldn't take it as a bad thing. They should be motivated to help the organization grow together, to continue to fight through this together. But if you do have this situation, right, then I think it's a great KPI as well, right? It's a good way to measure the right sort of employees that we want to keep and those we don't want to retain after post-MCO, right? Because we only want employees who appreciate that they still have a job and that they are actually in this fight together with the owners and the management of the organization. So I think it's a good filter, I suppose, if you have such things. That's a good question, though. I want to start taking notice of some of the team members. Anybody has prorated their work based on the current salary
Yeah.
structure.
Something that is the new term to me. Prorate their work.
Yeah, I think that's quite
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, prorate.
I believe
Very, very
that
calculative. Very
yeah, but that
calculative.
might happen. I believe it might happen. It might happen.
You cut my pay 10%. I cut my work 10%.
Yeah. I think for employees, it'll probably be you cut my pay 10%. I'm so demoralized. I cut my work by 50%. I
I
think.
do slower lah. I do slower up
Yeah.
lah.
Do less. Yeah, I think that will happen.
I think allow me to share something here to answer John. Okay, so what I think here is we need to understand one thing lah. Okay, there are 4 types of employee based on Jack Welch, the late Jack Welch lah. Okay, that model I always believe. One is those that can achieve, those that cannot achieve KPI. Achieve KPI, I can't achieve KPI, and those that willing and not willing, right? So in this case, what I'm referring to is those employee may not achieve the KPI and not willing. You see?
Yeah, correct.
So Jack Welch say if those employee that you have cannot achieve your KPI and not willing, fire them. So you don't need this kind of people. It's an attitude issue.
Correct.
It's an attitude issue. Of course, before we make a conclusion on that, we need to understand whether you have done a good leadership yourself first. You have to ask yourself, have you done right or not? Have you been transparent or not? Have you been communicating with employees? Are you a good leader or not? So if you're not a good leader, your employee don't believe in what you believe, then how can you expect them to follow you, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so of course there are 4% of the employee based on Harvard University toxic employee 4% right? So if they are not belong to this 4%, maybe something wrong somewhere like maybe your working environment, your culture, or your leaders, right? Leadership.
Correct. Yeah, it's not necessarily the pinpoint the employee directly We should also look at the common denominator
Yeah.
If it's a large percentage, then there's a common denominator. It may not be the employee, it may be the leadership, like you said, or the environment or the culture
Yeah, I believe John, you definitely you are a good leader here. You inspire me. I love to learn from you,
I hope so.
Yeah,
I would like to think so.
Yes. So okay, I know you may not have the kind of employees. Let's say if you have how do you deal with the employees giving you a lot of excuses on task assigned? Let's say you've given them a target, they always give you excuse. No boss, I cannot I cannot do busy I need to go home early need to take care of kids all the excuses
Correct.
Yeah. How do you handle that?
That's a very good question. Actually, that's quite a very relevant and very good question because I had to deal with such employees a couple of times in the last 16 months or so, and we've had to ask some to leave to the organization. To me, I think I used to be very nice in my previous employer. I think I'd like to think that I was very nice. I'm still very nice now, I believe, but I think it was too nice, and a lot of things I used to put the employees' well-being over the performance.
You mean in your you're comparing with your previous company or current one?
Current and previous I think in one of my previous companies, I think I put the employees' well-being too high up above performance. So I think because the lack of performance KPIs, was a bad indicator. So we looked at employee well-being too much, I think. And so I used to be too nice. But today, I think I'm a little bit more, how would I say, more direct in dealing with such. More performance-driven, number one. Number two, also, I'm a bit more direct. So it's resulted in me being a bit more direct with such employees. If there is such employees who are always giving excuses for not wanting to do assigned tasks, etc., coming up with a lot of issues, they automatically fall in like a blacklist bucket of mine, So now I divide employees in terms of performance based as well. And if such characteristics come out too often, then I start taking note of it, and I actually document most of the times they have given such excuses or such negative feedback towards work, and they automatically go into a sort of like a blacklist of mine, which then increases my level of numbers of frequency of conversations with them in terms of trying to get them to move in the performance space. And then usually I'm very direct in terms. Now I'm a little bit more direct. So if they give excuses that are not acceptable, actually no excuse is acceptable, but if they give too much excuses, then I usually have quite a firm conversation with them in terms of what they've said and what my expectations are. So I think I lay out expectations a bit clearer now, a bit more firm way, with a bit more measurable and visible results. I won't, it's not the perfect KPI system or a performance measurement tool, but at least there's something that I'm documenting along the way. And then automatically, they usually will be aware that they are not in the very good books. So promotion opportunities, etc., are already, sidelined already because of this. I count it as a performance thing already when it comes down to making excuses, right? So but I believe in building a very good, positive culture, fun environment, etc., and having very high employee engagement. I like my colleagues and my staff being my friends, etc. I don't mind hanging out with them after hours, social environments. But work is work. So I guess I've grown up and I've learned to focus a bit more on performance and divide that between being your friend on one end and being your boss on the other. And if I have no qualms letting people go now, if such characteristics appear to affect their performance at work.
True. So how do you inspire your employee?
How do I inspire my employees? I actually missed that question just now when you sent it over to me. Inspiring, I guess I think one of the most basic fundamental things.
Maybe I want to be more specific. How do you inspire your employee during this pandemic?
How do I inspire my employees?
I want to test your limit.
Inspire my employees during this pandemic. I would like to think this is something that I've done, that we've rolled out pretty well, is that we try and, I think I've painted a very nice picture in terms of what we can achieve if we pull through this pandemic in the next coming months. I think that serves as a good North Star, as an inspirational point for them to reach towards too. I've also started to use a bit more of numbers to try and gauge this, to set this direction. So I'm trying to inspire them in terms of the returns that we can get both. I think in these challenging times, a lot of people, especially employees as well, are affected in terms of financial. And so depending on the situation, these current times, I think financial goals and rewards serve as a very good motivational tool. So when I rolled out these plans, I kind of painted a very nice picture in terms of what we can achieve in the coming months, what it will be like, how we can move forward. I hope that inspired them to do a little bit more than for the company right now.
Sure. Do you use vision?
We don't use it right now. That's because we are actually redoing the vision for the organization at the moment. Because it has come under new ownership a couple of years back. And then we also restructured management in the last 12 to 16 months. We were moving around. So we're trying to recraft. It's a good reset tool for us. So these next few months, we will be re-looking into the vision of the organization and the mission as well, to try and see where we are headed so that we can reset and sort of re-evolve our organization again.
So mind to share, I divert the question a little bit here. Okay. So when you mentioned that you painted a good picture to set a number, to talk to your people, what was the reaction from your people in general, or having a standard reaction? Yeah,
I think they'll probably be seeing this video later also.
Yeah, very transparent, right?
I think there was mixed reactions.
Mixed reaction, Okay.
Because a large portion of the current team is actually been with the organization longer than I have. So they've been very used to the way things have operated or the direction of the organization for a very long time. So when we try to reset this direction and set an inspiring or try and motivate them with numbers, right? I think reactions were a little bit mixed. I think they were happy on one end, but not quite sure how they should react to it, or how it will turn out. Will it be beneficial for them, or will they be able to achieve such numbers, or will they be able to see it or not, or is it just too far away, So I've had
your number is how long? Sorry, your number is a few months, right? You mentioned, or
but we're going month by month now,
Month by month,
Yeah, we're going month by month, but we're targeting in the next 3 to 6 months, but we're going month by month measurement. So I think in that sense, it's been a bit of a position for me because I've had to battle between upper management and the employees, right?
Yeah.
In terms of trying to strike a number that it is both one attainable for the employees, so that they feel motivated. I think if it's too far away, right, then it becomes a demoralizing tool already, not an inspiring or motivational target already.
Sure.
But then also have to argue with upper management and the owners of the organization in terms of, if the number is too small, then they'll be like, why we still need to, work on give out such incentives or to the employees if we are not hitting desirable numbers. So it's been a struggle, but I think that was the reaction. It was a bit of mixed reaction from the team.
Currently, are you speaking from the perspective of a Malaysia Board of Record or the entire group? Are you helping your bosses to manage the whole group or just your division?
No, we are only for Malaysia Board of Records. But of course, in terms of the management across the different groups and subsidiaries, we do have informal discussions and some formal discussions in terms of providing each other with input and assistance where needed. But on the job function role specific, at the moment, it's focused only on the Malaysia Board of Records.
I see. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, actually, I have some new question for you here. I'm not listed here. Hope you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
So, when we talk about inspiring, right, to inspire your people, so I know that you are the one that heading the Malaysia Board of Record. You are the managing the whole division. So usually, the CEO or the owner have to inspire their employees, right? So, but now you're managing your employees, so you are not the founder, but you are coming from a perspective of the professional director to manage the group. So, is there any different the way you inspire your employee comparing to the founder and the CEO?
I think there's a big difference. Previously, I think when I owned my own organizations, it was a different way to inspire and motivate employees because you had total control in terms of the direction of what you can and cannot do, in terms of even the vision of the organization, everything. Basically, you were in control. So when you chart out something to inspire the team, or the way you have your conversations are a bit more open, you can say a lot more different things. I think as coming as a professional director for an organization where the owner has their own vision and their direction for the organization and the overall strategy, then I think how you inspire employees is kind of limited to what you can do within your resources, or whatever is within your means. I think that's the biggest difference.
It's not easy, right?
It's not easy. It's actually it's a bit challenging for me because I've been a business owner for so many years. I think more than a decade. Then suddenly going into corporate, it's a bit challenging for me in terms of trying to do things that way. But
you have to cover the top and cover the bottom.
correct. So I've learned to manage up and down. So like what my immediate boss, my COO, not my CEO. My COO actually gave me some advice that and actually steered me in the right direction. So what I do now is I have to try and speak to him first, and try and get his buy-in in terms of some of the ideas that I want to do or things that I want to say before going out there to talk to the employees. Before that, it was quite easy to just draft out my plans and my vision and goals and then just share it with the employees. But now I think we have to kind of work two ways. And I got to filter the things that I say. So I cannot be too enthusiastic to try and motivate the team to move forward, because a lot of things that if I promise, might not be able to be delivered or be given to them at the end of the if they achieve anything. So I have to be a bit more careful with that.
Because when we talk about leadership, right? Leadership not necessarily is from the top, easy. Anyone can be a good leader based on Simon Sinek's definition. Okay, Simon Sinek is my idol. Okay,
mine also.
I listen to him, easy. So I understand that when you want to inspire your employee have to believe in you. You have to create a trusting environment, right? So of course you have to tell your employee what is the direction, what you will get and after you've done something. So when you inspire your employee, so I think that it is not easy to convince your employee. The employee may be in their mind, it's coming from John. Is it are you able to promise me what you promise or not? Do I believe in what you say, or do I have to talk to your CEO? So how do you handle this balance?
I
Question,
think has
sorry.
happened. No problem. That actually happened to me quite recently as well. So what happens is a lot of things that I share out to the employees, to the team, right? There will be people who actually go to the COO or the CEO and double confirm or reaffirm whatever I've said and question the decisions that I've made or in terms of the plans that I've rolled out. So it does happen. How I address these situations is after that I try and have conversations with these with my colleagues and try and sit them down and talk to them and try and be more transparent and explain to them the whole situation. I also try and realign with my COO in terms of the types of conversations we'll be having. I think my COO is quite good at doing that. He's quite good at making sure that calling me into meetings so that I'm aligned with him and questioning me about what the things I'm doing so that we speak from the same song sheet so everyone's singing from the same song sheet I think that's critical so I think in terms of trying to motivate and inspire employees or whatever we roll out or whatever we want to share, right, should be all in sync, very well aligned in terms of with the owners and the management. I think that's critical. I think that builds the best. One of the key roles it plays in building a high trust environment is that all the upper management speak the same language. And then of course, whatever has been promised and committed or has come out of our mouths, right, should be executed upon. Make sure we deliver on our promises. I think if we do these two things, we build quite a good high trust culture already. And the team, especially the employees, should be able to react quite positively to such encouragement.
Yeah. You see, what you're sharing tonight is very relevant, to the world, the SME world. If you look at those managers, of course, they wanted to learn how to be a good leader, So maybe they're stuck in between, between the boss and the employees. So what the SME bosses should do, do they have to empower the managers, so that they have the kind of trust by their employees. What are the things that the CEO should do, you think?
SMEs,
not necessarily a company, maybe you can take this opportunity to hint your COO, your boss.
I think
to make it effective for you, is it to make it effective for the head, the GM or the managers or the HDs?
I think so we're talking more about SME owners, right? What they can
SME
do
owners, yes.
currently, yeah. I think they should be a little bit more transparent. I think Malaysian organizations are not very transparent in terms of a lot of things. I think Zig Ziglar once said, I think I shared this during one of our workshops that we did together, right? Zig Ziglar, I think to me he's the guru, the otai, the sifu of management theories. And I think he once said that employees only need 3 things. They need to have interesting work. They need to be recognized for the work that they do, and they should be let in on the decisions and directions of the information that travels through the company, through the organization, be let in on information in the organization. So I think these 3 things play very, very critical roles. So if you're a business owner or a CEO, one is to try and create interesting work if you can. If you can't, I think then try and recognize them for their contributions. So we take note of what they do. Of course, then the last one is being letting in on that. That's what I'm trying to get at, is being letting in on information, is to make sure that you're more transparent, more open in terms of the where the organization is going, what situation it's in, the financial situation, the financial position. I think that's very critical now, is that to be transparent about things. But I think CEOs or business owners should take the effort also to talk to their employees a little bit more. I think speaking to your staff, especially through the ranks, all the way down to wherever you can, and seeking their input in terms of, I think if you just seek input and feedback from them in terms of what's happening now, we will be quite surprised by what sort of feedback we will get from our teams. You'll be quite surprised. I think they're quite well equipped to be able to steer the organization in the right direction. I think that's some of the critical things that CEOs and business owners can currently do. I think.
Sure.
Some of the other things I think looking at, I believe that as an SME in Malaysia, we should empower our employees to do a little bit more. We're quite surprised. You'll be quite surprised. The manager that we repositioned to hit sort of like the sales, right? Actually, when we didn't know that he had such capabilities until you put him in the role. So when you put him in the role and gave him these responsibilities with no additional pay, right? He took on the challenge quite well, and then actually showed a lot of good initiatives in terms of running the position very well. So I think empowering people and managers, etc., is very, very, very good. I don't know, man. I think talking to the employees.
I think what you're sharing is very good.
Yeah, I think this is some of the for SME owners and CEOs. I guess these some of the critical things they can run. I mean, in these current times, one of my suggestions actually would be to form interdepartment committees or project teams, and just get the employees and the teams to work on these projects. Whether it is to develop a new product stream, new revenue stream within the current resources, come up with marketing plans, marketing ideas, sales initiatives, things that, just come up with projects and then share it with the management. Then you'll be able to see some pretty interesting ideas come out from the floor. I think that's one of the best things to do right now during these times. Right.
In fact, that day I spoke to one of the boss. He shared with me that the problem is not that he didn't want to empower the employees. So the problem is the managers. The manager himself is not willing to take on more responsibilities. For example, when they have issues, right, they throw back to the boss, let the boss manage. Let's say they have employee issue, so they're not willing to take on more responsibilities. That is a challenge faced by the manager. And even employees, they're not willing to take more responsibilities. You know what? When I found out, what happened? I asked him, how do you reward your employee? He said, I try to be a nice boss. Everyone also get bonus one by year end, regardless of your performance.
That's true. That's a very bad thing.
So, do you think this is the result of that?
Yeah, I believe so. If you're trying to be a nice boss and being very fair and rewarding everyone across the board, then without a proper measurement system to gauge performing and non-performing employees, automatically performing employees will not want to perform more, because if I don't do also, why I do more? If I don't do also, I will still get the same amount of bonus or reward, right, compared to my other colleague who is not doing anything. So that's that issue is created by the owners themselves by trying to do this fair reward system. Right, I'm trying to be a nice boss and giving a bonus.
So fair Actually, fair is not fair.
Fair Yeah, it is not fair. It's not fair to the performing employees.
Yes.
So you see, they should engage Sam Mary to set up some KPI system and reward accordingly.
In fact, he spoke to us and he wanted us to help him. So I think we're going to start soon for this process.
Yeah, correct. I think that's a very critical thing to address. But usually I think that happens in quite some organizations. I've come across some that face this issue, but the organization seems to be still moving along relatively well. Even though the boss is trying to be very nice and giving out the same amount of bonus and rewards to everybody, not really evaluating KPIs, but it seems to still work for some of these organizations, and the wheels are still turning. So I guess they can call it lucky, or I don't know.
The challenge for them is that they can't grow. You know why? The owner themselves is very, very busy. They start with all the internal operational issues, employee issue. They have to handle, because the manager are not handling it. They have to, handle all this. Then they have no time to clear their mind for the business strategy and business model moving forward.
Yeah. So they end up being involved too much with the daily operational tasks rather than the big picture and the strategies behind it. Yeah, that's quite a drawback for them.
Okay. So another question I asked you many times in many different events. So is there any different ways when you manage employee from different generation, Gen Z, now Gen Z, millennials, Gen Y, Gen X, baby boomers? So do you have a different ways of to manage different generations?
I think the last time we spoke about this, I said no, right? I think fundamentally, I believe all human needs are the same. I think fundamentally, the fundamentals of human motivation and needs are the same. But what I've realized, I think, come to look at, right, like what Zig Ziglar said, but I think now at this different age, from coming from this perspective, right, I look at this. I think different generations, the basic fundamentals are the same, but different generations, they basically just mean different age groups. So we've classified them as certain types of names, but they're different age groups. And I think I dig deeper recently, and I think I noticed that basically it's just different age groups have different needs and wants. I guess when you are in your early 20s, you didn't have a family, so your needs and wants were different. So you're a little bit, while the fundamentals, of course, is the same in terms of being
Okay.
motivated, but when it comes down to specific age groups, I think managing them in terms of their needs and wants, right, it plays quite a big impact in terms of how you manage this age group. I used to believe that you should only focus on the fundamentals, which is what Zig Ziglar always preaches, is the three things, which is interesting work, being let in on information and organization, etc. I think these are the fundamentals, and the Maslow hierarchy of needs. All the basic stuff are met. But I think once the fundamentals are covered, if you want to motivate and manage these different age groups of people, right, then you need to start looking at the specific age group and looking at yourself in terms of what you would want at that age, and then having a different level of conversation with the employees, with the team. So I think that's what I'm trying to implement now.
Do you want to share more? For example, you mentioned about 20s, age of 30s, or you have different classification, like married or not married with children, or single. They have different needs, right?
Yeah, different needs. Because I think I'm also growing up, I'm also aging, right? So I've also really noticed that.
You still look very young.
Oh, thank you. But as I'm aging, I realized that I have different wants and different needs during my age gap now. And the way that either my bosses talk to me, or the certain incentives or things tasks that they assign to me, right? Somehow, if it was maybe a good 5 to 10 years ago, right, it would be something I'd be very enthusiastic to go and do, or I'd be very excited about. Then I stopped to actually think back recently, and then I was looking at it, I was like, but now when I'm being assigned such tasks or being given such incentives, right, it doesn't appeal to me anymore.
Okay.
I feel like, I was like, I think this, then I realized that because at this age now, maybe I value a little bit more personal time, maybe a little bit more in terms of I'm willing to sacrifice income for time rather than chasing material things when I'm much younger. So if I look back, like maybe 5-10 years ago, right, it was heavily, I'm giving one example, 5-10 years ago, very high, motivated by in terms of material things. So chasing financial gains, incentives, rewards, whatever I can earn was a very great motivator. And I think if at that time a boss told me that, okay, this is your incentive plan, this is how you're going to be gauged, this is your performance KPI, etc., and it's all tied to financial rewards, I would have been very motivated to go out there and do everything, because that was what I wanted to buy nice clothes, buy fancy cars, etc. But then at this age now, suddenly I realized that I don't mind having lesser income to a certain degree, but I would like my weekends to myself, or I would like to go for happy hour, maybe have to entertain clients less, spend more time with the girlfriend or with friends, family. I actually value, I don't have kids, but I actually value spending time with my parents and my brother, and the sister-in-law, etc., a little bit more than I used to maybe 10 years ago. That time, you just want to keep going out and socializing, networking with clients, etc. But now I value family time more. So to manage me, I guess now it will be slightly different between 10 years ago and now. I think that's a good example. True. So I think if we are managing across generations, right, we should take into consideration the basic fundamentals, of course, in terms of what motivates humans in general. And then when it comes down to more specific individuals, then we start looking at, we always have this at the back of our mind, or we have a sort of like an employee CRM sheet where we keep track of their background, etc., and such information, right, that's made available to us, that when we speak to them, or when we have conversations, or when we manage our team with their different generations, then each person would need to be spoken to in a slightly different language, or
Mm.
or given certain types of tasks or roles or incentives or reward programs that suit their current needs based on their generation age now, their age. So I won't classify it as managing different generations. I think now I would classify it as managing just different age groups who have different needs and wants at this time. But yeah.
In fact,
That's my
very
thoughts.
very good sharing here. It is a sort of a reflection to myself also. I think we are about we are at the same age group here.
Yeah.
So what I value in life now is not about money. You see, so I'm not chasing for money now. I want to do the things that I love to do.
Correct.
So let's say if someone let's say if one day I become billionaire like Bill Gates, right? So then the question to me is whether are you still doing what you're doing? Yes, I will still do what I do, because my passion is about KPI. I love to help SME bosses. This is what I love to do. When people ask me what's your exit plan, I told them I don't have exit plan. I work until one day I cannot work. so most importantly, when we are at this age, right, we want to choose what we love to do, because life is short, you see. So we have to spend more time with your family members, your relatives, friends, go out drinking with friends. So we have to balance our life, I believe that. Of course, when you're young, so when you're just graduated, of course you're aiming for the financial gain, you want to have nice car, nice clothes, everything is materials. But when after number of years that you work, then you realize that the values in life is different already. Started to change. Your mindset is changed already. I think that's the reason why used to work in a hotel, 5-star hotel. She resigned. Got her pay half, 50% of what she got. So then she worked for 3-star hotel. Even her income cut by 50%. Yeah. So because the value in it's different. It's totally different now.
Correct. So yeah. But then again, we should always bear in mind that money does allow us to do what we want to do
Yeah.
Does give you the freedom to do what you want to do. Yeah. So I think the basic fundamentals of having adequate income or adequate revenue is still critical for us to be able to have the freedom to do what we want to do. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Even after this MCO, we learned something. I have given the flexibility to our employees also. Some of our employees, they prefer to work from home.
Right.
And some employees, they prefer to work in office.
Right.
I was surprised. I thought everyone wanted to work from home. So they said, no, I want to work in office. So I have some employee in office, some employee at home. Right. So of course we have all this IT facility. There is no problem, you see. So I asked them, why you want to go to office? Working from home isn't it better for you, right? You do not need to. No need to beat the traffic. They say no. If I work from home, I'm not motivated. I want to see my colleagues. That is the personal touch. Because their friends in the office, if they work from home, they feel very lonely. They're not motivated. So now I know, our employees they're mostly motivated by the friendship.
Correct. I think it's proven. I think it's proven. I think a lot of research also. I think research online has proven this theory that if your employee has good friends in the same organization, right, they are, I think, 4 or 5 times less likely to want to leave the organization.
Yeah.
So to retain top employees, right, is to one of the key roles I think leaders should play is to create a culture that helps employees foster such friendships. We cannot force friendships, but we can help create the environment and the culture, right, that will help facilitate friendships to form within the organization. I said that is very true, and I think employees, if they have good friends in the organization, they won't want to leave, so they want to come back to work because they get to see their friends as well.
Yep, I believe so. I think this is one of the reasons why most of our employees have been with me for many years, some even more than 10 years. Yeah, so I think the flexibility is very important. Some people they prefer to work from home. For me, I prefer to work from home. I don't want to beat the traffic. I don't want. I have one employee. She want to have a flexible working hour because she need to send her children to school. I allow that. So we should have that kind of flexibility.
I think for most industries that is possible, which I think is you're setting a right example for a lot of your clients as well. If you can if they can adopt to this new norm, it would help in terms of being able to attract and retain better talent as well for the organizations. Because I think this is something that a lot of people are adopting and a lot of people are quite used to now. Giving them that option, the flexibility to choose. I think that's key. I think that's human desire. So as a human want, right, to be able to choose, right? What makes us different from animals is that we have the ability to choose. So even in the organization, if we are empowered and given that ability to choose how we work, right, I'm sure they will perform a lot better. There will of course be the 4% bad apple, like you mentioned, but the rest of them, I think, will be able to appreciate this choice and then work better for the organization.
Yes.
Here's an interesting story just to share with you, since you're talking about working from home. I had an employee, a colleague who actually didn't enjoy working from home because they said there was a lot of distractions, especially if you have kids. So if you have kids, then it's very, very, very hard to work because the children will be interrupting you during your Zoom calls. You can't, because as young kids, they know that the mom is or the dad is around. Then they will always come and look for them. So they have a very hard time trying to focus on work. It became very emotionally draining, very taxing on them. So they actually prefer to come back to office for that solid 8 hours that they could actually do work.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think now our time is about 10 already. Okay. Before I allow you to go, I have just want to get your advice for SME bosses. What's your last advice? The one advice. If you have one advice, what they should do to motivate their employees, during this pandemic. Of course, we had to go through a tough time. You may not have that kind of financial reward during these 6 months. Hopefully, this pandemic can be over soon. Hoping 2021 can be back to normal. Hopefully, the vaccine is out. Hopefully, at least for Malaysia. At least for Malaysia.
At least for Malaysia. What's the one piece of advice I would give to SMEs? I think earlier I misinterpreted one of your questions and I gave a lot of advice in terms of to SME owners and CEOs. But I think that one piece of advice I think which would have heard me repeating quite often throughout this tonight, right, was transparency. I think a lot of Malaysian SME bosses, I having been one for more than a decade, lack that transparency in terms of having the conversations, proper transparent conversations with our management and our staff and team. I think that's something that SME owners need to learn to embrace in these challenging times. A lot of it has to do with our egos, especially as business owners. I think a lot of us have a lot of egos, which stop us from being very transparent in terms of how we feel or the position of the company, especially when it comes down to finances. I think these sort of things, if we can learn to open up a little bit more with our top line managers as well as throughout the organization, right, to a certain degree, it would benefit you and the organization a lot more. I think that's my one piece of advice to SME owners especially. So they'll be a little bit more transparent with things, have more honest and open conversations with employees and try and seek their input.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you so much, John. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Good weekend ahead. Even though tomorrow is Friday. Okay. So thank you so much. Have a nice day. You have been very, very nice to me. And whenever I invited you to help our clients, you always say yes. Thank you so much.
I enjoy working with San Marin and yourself and your team very often. What I believe in what you guys are doing is a very good thing. And if wherever I can contribute, I will try and contribute and add value wherever I can.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, see you.
Thanks for doing this. See you everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.